Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive today. We're going to be talking about some really interesting stuff happening over in Japan.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically, we're going to be diving into the world of perovskite solar cells.
Okay.
You probably heard about those.
Yeah.
But we're really going to go in depth today and learn more about them and learn more about how Japan is trying to use these to really revolutionize their energy plan.
Sounds good.
The main source that we have for today's deep dive is an article from Ecoticious.
Okay.
It's called Japan Unveils World's First Solar Super Panel, More Powerful Than 20 Nuclear Reactors.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's a pretty bold statement right there in the title.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful stuff.
So, I think one thing I want to start off with is, well, I guess maybe first just to give a little bit of background, like perovskite solar cells are not the same
Yeah.
as like your traditional solar panels.
Right.
They're a newer technology, they're super lightweight, they're flexible,
Yeah.
they're super efficient as well.
Yeah, they're pretty exciting.
Yeah, and so the idea that they could be integrated into so many different aspects of life is, I think that's what's really exciting about this.
Yeah, and especially for a place like Japan,
Yeah.
which is very densely populated, being able to integrate solar panels into, clothing or just different aspects of life is very appealing.
Definitely. So, okay, so the article does a good job of highlighting Japan's revised energy plan, which is really heavily focused on these perovskite solar cells, or PSCs as we'll call them for short.
Oh, okay.
They're aiming to generate a massive 20 gigawatts of electricity from them by 2040,
Yeah.
which, to put it into perspective, is the equivalent output of 20 nuclear reactors.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's a pretty significant step towards their commitment to net zero emissions by 2050.
Yeah. Huge commitment, and I think it really goes to show how serious they are about this technology.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But why this tech? Japan was a solar powerhouse before, and they
Right.
sort of fell behind a little bit. Is this their play to really get back on top?
I think that there's definitely a strategic element at play here. Japan is actually the world's second largest producer of iodine,
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
which is a key ingredient in PSC manufacturing.
Okay.
So that gives them a pretty big advantage in building a self-sufficient industry,
Yeah.
reducing their reliance on foreign imports.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense,
Mm-hmm.
especially after the past, few years with all of the supply chain issues and everything like that.
Yeah.
Countries are really starting to think more about that and
Yes.
think about how can we be more self-reliant.
Right.
So it makes a lot of sense that that would be part of their strategy.
Yeah, I think so.
But what makes PSCs so different from traditional solar panels? Is it just the flexibility, or is there more to it?
Um, well, flexibility is a major factor,
Okay.
especially in densely populated areas like Japan.
Right.
Traditional silicon panels are bulky and rigid,
Yeah.
but PSCs can be molded to fit almost any surface.
So you're talking skyscrapers draped in energy-generating skin,
Yeah,
or even clothing with woven-in solar cells.
exactly.
Okay, that's where I think things get really, really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Like solar-powered shirts that are charging your phone as you walk. I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty game-changing, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
But let's step back to the science for a second.
Okay.
What makes perovskites so efficient? They're not just flexible. They're way better at converting sunlight than traditional panels, right?
Yeah, that's right. It really all comes down to the unique crystal structure of perovskite materials.
Okay.
Unlike silicon, which has a limit on how much sunlight it can convert, perovskites have a much higher theoretical efficiency ceiling.
Okay.
So they're able to squeeze more energy out of every photon.
So we're talking a potential leap in efficiency, which is huge.
Yeah, it's a
But-
big deal.
But I'm guessing there's downsides too.
Yeah.
No technology is perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the article did mention cost as a major barrier.
Yeah, so the upfront costs for PSCs are still pretty high right now.
Okay.
And there are some challenges with durability.
In what sense?
Well, they're sensitive to moisture and oxygen, which can degrade their performance over time.
Oh, okay. So they need to be like really well sealed and protected.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the good news is research is moving incredibly fast,
That's good.
and scientists are working on new encapsulation techniques and materials to make them more robust.
Oh, cool. So they're like trying to figure out different coatings and things like that
Yeah,
that
exactly.
will make them last longer.
Right.
But the article also mentioned that costs are expected to drop to 10 yen per watt by 2040.
Yes.
Is that even realistic? I mean,
Yeah.
that seems like a huge drop.
It's an ambitious target, but, it's not impossible.
Okay.
As production scales up and manufacturing processes improve, the cost is expected to come down significantly.
Yep.
If they can hit that 10 yen mark, it would make PSCs competitive with, if not cheaper, than traditional silicon solar panels.
Okay, so that would be a game changer, not just for Japan, but for the entire world.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Suddenly, clean solar energy becomes accessible to almost anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, Japan's path to this solar revolution wasn't a smooth one.
Right.
They went through a major energy crisis not too long ago.
They did. It's impossible to talk about Japan's energy policy without acknowledging the 2011 Fukushima nuclear disaster.
Right.
It was a pivotal moment that really forced them to confront the risks of centralized power
Yeah,
and sparked this dramatic shift in their energy strategy.
it must have been a major wake-up call for the entire nation.
Oh, yeah, it was.
How did public opinion change after Fukushima? Did it push them towards renewables like solar?
The impact was really profound.
Yeah.
Not only did the disaster raise safety concerns about nuclear power,
Yeah.
but it also highlighted the vulnerability of a centralized energy system.
Right, because if one plant goes down, then it causes widespread issues.
Exactly. The widespread blackouts and energy rationing that followed really fueled a growing desire for distributed and localized energy solutions.
So Fukushima kind of inadvertently paved the way for this current solar revolution.
Yeah, I think it definitely played a significant role.
Interesting. How crisis can accelerate change sometimes.
Yeah, in unexpected ways.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the shift towards solar in Japan has been pretty dramatic, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's been remarkable.
The article mentioned a pretty significant jump in just a few years.
Yeah, in 2014, solar power only accounted for 1.9% of Japan's total energy production.
Wow.
Today, it's closer to 10%.
That's a huge jump.
Yeah, and with the government's target of 36% to 38% renewable energy consumption by 2030, PSCs are expected to play a key role in achieving that goal.
That's quite a leap. They're not just dipping their toes in the water, they're diving headfirst into this solar revolution.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's not just about meeting their own energy needs, is it?
You're picking up on something really crucial here.
Okay.
Japan isn't just aiming for self-sufficiency.
Right.
They're positioning themselves as a global leader in PSC technology.
So they see this as an opportunity to export their expertise and become a major player in the global clean energy market. That's a really bold move. It's like they're saying, we've learned from our mistakes, we've embraced innovation, and now we're ready to lead the way towards a more sustainable future.
That's a great way to put it, and that ambition is reflected in their very comprehensive approach to developing the PSC industry.
Okay.
They're not just funding research, they're creating this entire ecosystem to support this technology,
Okay.
from manufacturing to deployment.
So now I'm really intrigued. We've talked about the why behind Japan's solar push, but what does this ecosystem actually look like?
Yeah.
How are they making this vision a reality?
Well, that's where things get even more fascinating. So let's dive into those specifics.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
One of the most impressive things is how they're focusing on building this robust domestic manufacturing base for PSCs.
Yeah, makes sense.
They don't want to just import this technology.
Right.
They want to be the ones producing it.
Right, which makes sense. You know,
Yeah.
they had that history with the traditional solar manufacturing where they kind of lost ground to China. So it makes sense that they would want to kind of reclaim that and be a leader in this new technology.
Yeah, exactly.
But how are they encouraging this domestic production? Is it just like big government subsidies, or is there more to it?
Subsidies are part of it,
Okay.
but it's a little more nuanced than that. They're providing tax breaks and incentives for companies to actually set up PSC production facilities within Japan.
Okay.
They're also investing a lot in research and development partnerships between universities and private companies
Right.
to foster innovation and kind of keep the technology moving forward.
So they're really playing the long game here.
Yeah,
Fostering a homegrown industry that can compete on a global scale.
exactly.
But manufacturing is only one piece of the puzzle.
Right.
They also need to create demand for these things.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, what's the point of producing them?
Exactly. And that's where they've also been very strategic.
Okay.
One key initiative has been the implementation of these feed-in tariffs.
Oh, yeah. Feed-in tariffs. I always get those mixed up with other incentive programs. Can you just remind me how those work?
Yeah, so basically, feed-in tariffs guarantee a fixed price for electricity generated from renewable sources,
Okay.
like solar.
Gotcha.
So this makes it much more financially attractive for individuals and businesses to invest in solar power, including PSCs,
Right.
because it provides a stable and predictable return on their investment,
Gotcha.
which reduces the risk and encourages wider adoption.
So it's kind of like giving people a financial nudge to go green.
Exactly.
But it's not just individuals, right? Are businesses and larger organizations also taking advantage of these feed-in tariffs to install PSEs?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the government has tailored these programs to incentivize different sectors.
Okay.
For example, they have specific feed-in tariffs for large-scale solar farms that use PSCs,
Okay.
which encourages utility companies to incorporate this technology into their energy mix.
Nice.
They also have programs for businesses and building owners to install PSCs on their rooftops or integrate them into the building's design.
Oh, so like building integrated photovoltaics.
Exactly. BIPVs.
EIPVs. Now, there's a term I haven't heard before.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of futuristic. What exactly does that look like in practice?
So imagine skyscrapers with solar panels seamlessly integrated into their facades,
Okay.
generating clean energy right in the heart of the city.
Oh, wow.
Or office buildings with solar-powered windows,
Okay.
reducing their reliance on the grid while also creating this sleek, modern aesthetic.
So it's not just about slapping solar panels on top of existing structures.
Right.
It's about incorporating them into the very design of the building,
Exactly.
making them both functional and aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, and Japan is really becoming a showcase for innovative BIPV applications using PSCs.
Cool.
Because their flexible and lightweight nature makes them ideal for integrating into all sorts of building designs,
Yeah, that makes sense.
really pushing the boundaries of what's possible with solar technology.
That's really cool. So they're turning entire buildings into clean energy generators.
Yeah.
But what about those durability challenges we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
Are those being addressed for these BIPVs as well?
Absolutely. A lot of research is focused on making PSCs more robust.
Okay.
They're experimenting with new materials and encapsulation techniques to protect them from the elements
Right.
and extend their lifespan.
Makes sense.
Because for BIPVs to be viable, they need to be just as durable and reliable as traditional building materials.
Right. It's like they're trying to build a solar panel that can withstand the test of time, just like the bricks and mortar of the buildings themselves.
Exactly.
But beyond government incentives and research, what role is the private sector playing in all of this?
The private sector is absolutely crucial.
Okay.
We're seeing major companies like Sekisui Chemical, Toshiba, Panasonic, Sharp.
Sekisui Chemical.
Yeah.
That name rings a bell.
Yeah, they were mentioned in the Ikatisha's article as kind of a leading player in the PSC field. They've been very active in developing high-efficiency PSCs
Yeah.
and pioneering their use in BIPVs.
Okay.
They're really leveraging their expertise in materials science to overcome those durability challenges
Right.
and create PSCs that can withstand real-world conditions.
So they're kind of at the forefront of this whole movement.
Yeah, I think so.
What other companies are making waves in this space? What kind of innovations are they coming up with?
Well, Toshiba, for example, has been focusing on developing PSCs for use in electric vehicles.
Oh, wow.
So imagine car roofs that double as solar chargers,
That's cool.
extending the range of EVs and reducing the need for frequent plug-ins.
Wow.
And Panasonic, on the other hand, is exploring the use of PSCs in flexible electronics,
Yeah, okay.
which could potentially revolutionize everything from smartphones to wearable devices.
Okay, so from buildings to cars to gadgets, it seems like PSCs are finding their way into every aspect of modern life.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
It's like we're watching this whole new industry being born right before our eyes.
Yeah, it is.
And it's not just limited to Japan.
No, not at all.
The excitement around PSCs is a global phenomenon.
Definitely with major research efforts happening in Europe, the US, China, and many other countries.
So Japan might be leading the charge,
Yeah.
but the rest of the world is taking notice and joining the race.
Yeah.
But even with all this global momentum, there's still those doubts about durability and long-term stability.
Right.
Can PSCs really compete with traditional silicon solar panels that have been around for decades?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And while PSCs are still a relatively young technology, the progress being made is truly remarkable.
That's good.
Researchers are constantly finding ways to improve their efficiency, their stability, and their lifespan.
So it's a constant evolution, pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Yeah.
But for our listener who might be wondering, what does all of this mean for the future of solar energy? Is this the beginning of the end for traditional silicon panels?
It's hard to say for sure, but PSCs definitely have the potential to disrupt the solar industry in a major way.
Right.
Their versatility, the potential for higher efficiency and lower manufacturing costs make them a very attractive alternative
Right.
to silicon.
So it's not necessarily a question of one technology completely replacing the other,
Right.
but rather a shift towards a more diverse and dynamic solar landscape with PSCs playing an increasingly prominent role.
Exactly. And as research and development continues to advance,
Yeah.
it's entirely possible that we'll see a future where PSCs become the dominant technology,
Wow.
powering everything from our homes to our cars to our cities.
That's a pretty exciting prospect,
Yeah,
especially considering the urgent need to transition away from fossil fuels and combat climate change.
absolutely.
But beyond the technical aspects, I'm curious about the bigger picture. What does Japan's commitment to PSCs tell us about their overall approach to energy and sustainability? Are they setting an example for the rest of the world to follow?
That's a great question, and one that deserves deeper exploration. So let's delve into those broader implications.
Yeah, let's do it. We've talked a lot about like the technical stuff and all the economics and everything, but I think it's worth zooming out and kind of thinking about the bigger picture here. Their commitment to this technology goes beyond just those economic or, technological advantages.
Yeah.
Feels like it's almost a statement about their values and their vision for the future.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It's definitely about more than just, like you said, Watson Yen, Japan's energy policy really reflects, I think, a deep shift in their national mindset.
Mhm.
They've seen firsthand the dangers of over-reliance on those centralized and vulnerable energy sources, like we were talking about with nuclear power. And now they're embracing this more decentralized and resilient model with renewables at its core.
Yeah, so it's like they're really taking control of their energy destiny,
Exactly.
building a system that's not only cleaner, but also more secure and self-sufficient.
Exactly. And it's not just Japan. This is something that we're seeing kind of a global trend. A lot of countries are realizing that energy independence is no longer just about economics.
Yeah.
It's also about national security and resilience,
Yeah.
in the face of climate change and geopolitical instability.
It's like, don't put all your eggs in one basket,
Right.
applied to a nation's energy strategy.
Exactly.
And Japan seems to be really taking that to heart with their diversified approach.
Absolutely. They're not getting rid of nuclear power entirely,
Right.
but they are strategically shifting their focus towards renewables like solar, wind, geothermal. And within that mix, PSCs are emerging as this key player because of, their versatility and their potential for high efficiency.
It makes you wonder if other countries, especially those that are really heavily reliant on fossil fuels, are kind of looking at Japan's model and thinking maybe we should be doing something similar.
Yeah, I think a lot of countries are observing and taking note.
Yeah.
Japan is showing that this transition to clean energy is not only possible,
Right.
but it can be economically beneficial and actually enhance energy security.
Yeah, it's a really compelling argument. So we've been talking a lot about Japan as this leader in this solar revolution.
Right.
But what about the rest of the world? Are there other countries or regions that are making significant strides with PSC technology?
Oh, yeah, for sure. While Japan's at the forefront, the research and development of PSCs is happening globally.
Okay.
Europe in particular has been investing heavily in this technology, with countries like Germany, the UK, Italy leading the way.
Yeah, Europe has always been a really strong advocate for renewable energy.
Yeah,
So it's not surprising that they would be embracing this emerging technology.
yeah.
Are there any specific initiatives or breakthroughs that stand out to you in Europe?
One that comes to mind is the European Union's Horizon Europe Research and Innovation Program,
Okay.
which has put a lot of funding into PSC development.
Okay.
They're supporting projects between universities, research institutions, private companies, all to speed up the commercialization of this technology.
So it's a similar approach to Japan? Really fostering collaboration and creating that supportive ecosystem for innovation.
Exactly.
What about other parts of the world,
Mm.
like the US or China? Are they keeping pace?
Yeah, so the U.S. has been ramping up research in recent years. The Department of Energy is investing in several national labs and universities that specialize in PSC technology.
Okay.
And China, as this, global manufacturing powerhouse,
All right.
is heavily involved in PSC production, and they're scaling up their manufacturing capabilities very rapidly.
So it's like a global race to harness the power of the sun.
Yeah, you could say that.
But as we wrap up this deep dive, I keep coming back to this one question.
Yeah.
What does all this mean for the average person? How will this solar revolution actually impact our lives?
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal, right?
Yeah.
To turn these advancements into real benefits for people around the world.
Right.
And I think we're starting to see those benefits emerge.
Can you give us some examples? Like, what are some of the ways that you think PSCs might actually change our daily lives in the years to come?
We'll imagine a future where your home is powered by rooftop solar panels
Okay.
and BIPVs, significantly reducing your electricity bills,
Yeah.
lowering your carbon footprint. Imagine electric cars that charge themselves,
Oh,
using solar-powered roads or parking lots, eliminating that range anxiety,
right.
making EVs even more appealing.
Yeah, and then going back to what you mentioned earlier about, PSCs being integrated into like clothing and backpacks and things like that.
Right.
Is that something that we might realistically see?
I think it's definitely possible.
Okay.
As they become more flexible, lightweight, cost-effective, we could see them being woven into fabrics, powering our devices, lighting up our clothing, or even providing these portable energy sources for like off-grid
So
adventures.
solar-powered clothes, cars that charge themselves, buildings that generate their own energy. It's like something out of a sci-fi movie,
I know, right?
but it's actually becoming a reality.
It really is. And it's a testament to human ingenuity and our
Right.
ability to really harness this incredible power of the sun.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And while there are still challenges, the progress being made is just remarkable.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
So before we sign off, I want to leave our listener with one final thought-provoking question.
Okay, I'm all ears.
We've seen how Japan is using this technology to address its energy challenges and kind of position themselves as a leader.
Right.
But what other creative and innovative applications for PSEs can you envision? What possibilities are we maybe overlooking?
That's a great question, and one that I hope our listeners will really think about. We've just scratched the surface of what's possible with this technology.
Yeah.
The future of solar energy is bright, and it's really up to us to shape it with our ingenuity and creativity.
Absolutely.
Oh.
So to our listener, we challenge you to think beyond the obvious.
Yeah.
To explore those uncharted territories of this solar revolution. What role will you play in shaping this exciting future?
Keep your eyes peeled. The story of perovskite solar cells is just beginning.
And it's a story that we'll continue to follow closely here on The Deep Dive. This has been a really fascinating look into the world of perovskite solar cells and Japan's incredible journey towards a brighter, more sustainable future. Until next time, keep those innovative ideas flowing.